Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Progressive presents The Sounds of the Old World. The year is 2019, and someone is waiting for the previews to start in a movie theater.
Hey, you want anything? Popcorn? Soda? No, nothing?
This has been The Sounds of the Old World. Brought to you by Progressive, where drivers can still switch and save like it's 2019.
Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth. And always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Christopher Media, let's make some noise. Welcome to Beer Nuts, a weekly excursion into the world of craft beer, brought to you by MichiganBeerGuide.com. And now, here are the Beer Nuts.
Welcome, everybody, to the final episode of Untitled Chapter. So the theme of this episode is FU 2020. Can't wait till this crap over here is out of here. So we're going to kick it out. We're going to send it off with a really good celebration with a bunch of great beers. And we got a full lineup of 7 beer nuts. It's been a few weeks since we've been able to all get together. It's almost like the pandemic's even affecting us from across the miles. But we've got a great lineup tonight and some great beers. And we're going to even introduce a new beer nut from the East Coast. So we'll get right started. We're going to go from west to east. I'd like to introduce Steve from Los Angeles.
Hello, everybody. I hope everyone had a good holiday, safe and COVID-free. My last Untapped check-in was from 818 Brewing out in the San Fernando Valley. I had their Krampus Winter, their Belgian ale. A lot of spices, a little tartness, but went well with my tamales.
Nice, very nice. Well, we're going to move west to east. So I'll be next. This is JR in just outside of Tucson, Arizona, in Corona de Tucson. And my last check-in for Untapped was double dry hopped extra mango Mago Tago from Tired Hands Brewing Company in the Philadelphia area. But I didn't get a chance to check in beers that I had earlier today up in Phoenix. I went to the Beer Research Institute and had a couple flights. And the one beer that really caught my fancy was Morning 6, a coffee stout. And they actually had one at the brewery infused with coconut that I was able to get a crowler of. So I'm going to mention that too. So let's pass it on up to Michigan.
Well, good evening. Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. This is Greg Greg in Dearborn, Michigan, and my last Untapped check-in was from the Evil Empire, but a delicious one at that. Bourbon County's Caramello Wheat Wine 2020, 14.6% ABV. Tasted like a nice, flavorful apple pie. It was so good, so smooth. Glad I was able to get a bottle of it.
Amen.
All right, I'm Chris. I'm in St. Clair Shores, Michigan. My last Untapped check-in it's been a while. It was back we did the breakfast beers, the CBS Stout from Founders.
Good selection.
This is Dugout. I'm in Clawson, Michigan. My last Untapped check-in was Henry from Transient Artisan Ales, and that is a barrel-aged porter. It was quite good, and the price was right on that one, too.
Amen. I think we're going down to North Carolina next. Welcome back, Ross.
Hey, it's nice to be back. So the last thing I had was a Kentucky Christmas Morning from Hardywood Brewing. If anybody's ever had that, that's their Christmas beer. Obviously comes out in November. It's a nice, spicy, gingerbready kind of stout. It's really good. It's you share it, and it comes in at a good price too. I mean, the bomber was like $13, so it's definitely a really great beer. It's a nice seasonal one to have.
All right, and we'd like to welcome our newest beer nut, Bob Anderson. Welcome, Bob, from Beantown. And I know you're not on tap, but just tell us maybe the last beer you enjoyed.
Well, hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys allowing me to come on here and be a part of this. I think it's a tremendous thing, you guys putting out beer out there for everyone to try, and really giving your understanding of what beer is and some of the flavors that are out there. Up here in New England, as cold as it is up here, and you guys in Michigan, you guys get it. Obviously, North Carolina and California, it's a little warmer there, but here, when I'm up here in New England at this time of the year, I like to drink a little bit of a more heartier beer, and I like the double IPAs, which give me a little bit more boost, and it gives me a little bit more of a flavor profile that reminds me a little bit more of summer and thinking of warmer times. So the beer, the last beer I had, and the beer I'm actually trying right now is Haze from Treehouse Brewing. Treehouse is a brewery here in Charlton, Massachusetts that I got to tell you, it's a brewery that I love, but I wasn't sold on right away. They only sell their beer at the brewery. You can't get it anywhere else. Haze is a double IPA. It's just a little bit over 8%. It's a really fruity, hazy New England style IPA. A lot of peach, a lot of grapefruit in it. It complements a lot of different styles of food. It's a tremendous beer. It's one of their core beers. And I got to tell you, if you ever get to New England and you can come up here, or you can get one of your buddies that buys a lot of beer and will trade with you, this is the beer that you got to ask for. Haze is one of my favorite, and I honestly would tell you that Haze is something that you guys should try if you ever get a chance to.
I'm sure we'll be up. A lot of jealous beer nuts here with that selection. So anyway, we are going to kick 2020 out the door with some great beers. So before we do that, we always want to remind everybody that we are not a bunch of pretentious beer snobs. We're just a bunch of regular guys that love good beer, and we want to introduce more good beer to more good people. So that's the motto of our show, and will continue to be the motto of our show. So we also want to invite everybody to crack open a cold one. Whatever you enjoy is fine with us. If Bud Light's your favorite beer, that's fine with us too. But hopefully maybe you'll hear about some of the great beers we're tasting and want to expand your horizons a little bit into some more complex flavors and beer styles. So that being said, cheers, everybody. Good riddance, FU 2020. We're going to turn it over to Steve V in Los Angeles for the first beer.
Well, thank you. First off, can I put in a nomination for Rookie of the Year for Bob? I want an intro for that, huh?
Yes, you can. He's nominated.
Okay.
And
all right, there you go.
Approved.
All right, terrific. Okay, so the beer I am drinking and saying goodbye to 2020 with is from Latitude 33, and it's their Honey Hips. It's an ale. It has clover, orange blossom, described as a touch of sweetness. It's 8.3%. I want to say. I poured a glass as we were talking, and color of it's kind of on the dark side of the ales, kind of like a dirty brass. It had a decent head. It lasted for a while, but since then it's dissipated. Smelling it, you get the aroma of the fruit right off the bat, and then followed by the spices. Wow, that's really tasty. The spices are right up front with it. It lasts all the way through. It has the honey in it, so I thought it was going to be a little bit sweeter, but I don't get that. It's just a well balanced beer that like I said, the spices are really prevalent, and they work well with. I'm assuming with the honey in it, but with the orange blossom, it's really, like I said, it's really a balanced beer. Yeah, enjoying it more. Like I said, no bite to it. Just a smooth beer. This was a gift to me back on my birthday so many months ago, and I wanted to save it. So I'm glad I can say goodbye to 2020 with it, because and if 2021 is any if this is an indication of where we're going with this beer, then I welcome 2021. And cheers to everyone and Happy New Year.
What's the name of that brewery again?
Latitude 33. It's down in Vista, just north of San Diego. Like I said, if you can get your hands on one of these, I highly suggest it. It's very, very good beer.
It sounds delicious.
All right, great way to start the show. Thank you for that, Steve. I have been patiently waiting to pop this, so I'm going to pop it. The beer that I'm about to introduce is Reserve Bourbon Barrel Aged Imperial Coffee Stout, 2020 vintage. It's from 2SP Brewing in the Philadelphia area, and I will also say that this also has the Wawa logo. So for anybody from the Philadelphia area, or if you're not from the Philadelphia area, Wawa is a convenience store chain iconic to anybody from the Philly area. They also, I believe, have stores up and down the East Coast now in Virginia, and I know some in Florida. But Wawa was a Philadelphia staple for years. They're known to make their, they make hoagies or Italian, various kinds of subs, as a lot of people say, or maybe even grinders up in Bob's area.
Greatest convenience store ever.
It is. And especially if you've had a few beers, it's a great place to go. There's all kinds of great food options. So anyway, great to find. I had a buddy in the Philly area that sent me 5 or 6 beers that are Wawa themed, because anything with coffee in it, they use the Wawa coffee as a local Philly brewery. So I'm really looking forward to this. I don't know what makes it reserve. It's 9% ABV, but I'm going to pour it in a glass. I just popped it open. So I'm getting a nice, like, cola colored head, pretty dark, pretty brown, medium brown on this thing. And it got a good, healthy 1-finger head, which is surprising because sometimes the stouts, they're not as carbonated. But this has got a really nice, solid, foamy head. Again, dark. I can definitely smell the coffee in this. Coffee, kind of a roasted barley, probably from the malt, the roasted barley in the stout, the malt bill. So it smells exactly what I think it'll taste like. The head is still about a half a finger, lingering pretty good. So let's just taste this bad boy. So what I didn't smell, and the aroma is very prevalent in the taste, which I'm pleased, is the barrel influence. It's not hot or boozy, but it's there's definitely, you can taste the bourbon barrel influence. You get a little bit of vanilla from the oak. The coffee isn't overwhelming. I don't want to say background, but it's like maybe 35-40% of the overall flavor profile. It's pretty well balanced with a lot of different. You got the barrel, you got the bourbon, you got the stout, and you got the coffee. And as I always like to say, it's almost like a really good concert where everybody's complimenting each other, and all the flavors come together to really deliver a great experience as a beer drinker. So let's just have another sip, see what else I can come up with here. Now, I did take this out of the fridge a little while ago. It's still pretty cold. I think if I review this in 20 minutes, I'll get even more flavorful out of it, more flavors pulling out of it. But yeah, it's not too bitter, as some coffee beers can be. It's really, they've done a great job balancing this. I wish I had I don't really have a description of it, and since there's 7 of us, I'm not going to look it up online or anything. I can just tell you it's they've done a great job with it. It says proudly brewed and barreled in Aston, Pennsylvania by 2SP Brewing Company, made with Wawa Winter Reserve coffee. So I think that's why it's reserve, because not only is the beer reserve aged in a bourbon barrel, but they're also using the top quality reserve coffee that Wawa serves. So, yep, it's a great way to make me smile and think about how good it's going to be to kick this year behind us. Not an all bad year, but certainly a year that we're going to look back on and not very fondly for most of us with the pandemic and all the other nonsense that has occurred. But you know what? We can all raise our glasses and cheers to 2021. There's nowhere to go but up, right? So good job, 2SP Brewing Company. Cheers. So I'm going to send it up north to Michigan for the next review.
I'll take it. Sure, why not? All right, Greg here in Dearborn. Good evening again. My beer that I'm bringing along today is from Ascension Brewing Company out of Novi, Michigan, which is about 15, 20 miles northwest of Detroit. And this is their Maple Barrel Aged Candy Walnut Gorilla Juice. This is their stout that they every year they've been releasing lots of different variants of it, and it's very well sought after. But this one in particular is a 16% imperial stout with aged in Vermont maple syrup bourbon barrels and conditioned on candy walnuts and whole vanilla beans. So looking forward to this one. This will be my first time trying it. So first off, dark as could be, poured in the glass. There's a little bit of a brown tinge to it, on the edge of the drink in the glass itself. No bubbles whatsoever retained. I mean, she just disappeared quickly, but she's got lots of legs in the glass here. So,
can I interrupt for a second? Did
Yes,
you
sir.
say it was 16%?
I did say that, yes.
Wow.
Jesus, holy Lord!
So good night to you guys after this.
Yeah, that'll
In
start
case
your
you-
car.
Well, just like you were, saying earlier, for us guys in Michigan as well, you guys in New England, we like a little something, a little more pep to keep us warm or keep us going, right? So this
Hell
is
yeah, that's right. Good man.
all right. So first smell on it is you get that mapley, syrupy goodness to it, as well as maybe some like that vanilla beans, just overall good, delicious sweetness to it. It smells rich, and I can't wait to dive in. So first sip. Oh yeah. All right, so she's a very thick mouthfeel to it, much like the smell. A lot of thick, sticky maple syrup. Almost like a caramel to it, and the finish. It's kind of giving me that, like when you have like a handful of walnuts for a snack or something. That little aftertaste of the walnuts has hit me there. Just dark, maybe like a dark chocolate caramel candy bar to go with it too. I mean, this is killer, guys. And for 16%, let me just say, she drinks so smooth. So dangerously smooth. So, this is definitely a sipper. You don't want to be chugging these things. So, delicious offering from Ascension. They had the pretty good lineup this year of Gorilla Juices, and they've all been a big hit. So this is certainly up there with them. Definitely a great beer. So it definitely was hard to get a hold of a couple cans of this, but definitely worth it. So long 2020. This was an appropriate beer to send you out with.
Well, yeah, to help you forget real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Gorilla Juice. It's a great name, and shout out to all the guys at Ascension. One of my favorite breweries back in Michigan, and when I was teaching in the school craft brewing program, they were a good partner with us. Really glad that you reviewed that. That's their big heavy hitter, and yeah, certainly is a great beer to try to forget 2020 with.
You need a couple more of these, but to really truly forget it. But man, this is a good one to at least start out with that. So
What's great about that stuff is they do so many different variants with it. I think I've had 3 different ones, and none of them was that one.
No, they did like an Oreo cookie one this year. They did one with John's favorite peanut butter and marshmallow. So I know they had a Jubilee one they were going to bring out with Morrissey cherries and vanilla beans. So, but yeah, they do every year. It's always a great lineup. So they do a great job.
Awesome. All right. Who's next up in Michigan?
All right. Well, I will go. Chris here, St. Clair Shores. Old favorite, a brewery that's near and dear to my heart. You guys introduced this brewery to me a few years ago, and I know lately their offerings have been a little hit or miss, but I have yet to have something from them that I don't like. Shores Brewery, picked up something called Sticky Icky Icky. I mean, because that's, if we're trying to forget 2020, why not have the best of both worlds? But obviously, not a hybrid drink here. Obviously, it's named that because it's full of hops and it smells like what it's referring to. So I poured it in a glass. A nice thick foamy, kind of creamy foam on top of this. Surprisingly, it's still hanging out. Definitely sticking to the side of the glass here. Put your nose in it. I mean, and as far as IPAs go, I mean, everything you should be smelling. You're definitely getting a little bit of the dankness, which is what the beer's named after. I'm getting all kinds of citrus, lemon, like tangerine, orange, and some of the faint floral aromas here too. Taking a sip, a nice light crisp mouthfeel. By the way, too, this is not a hazy IPA. You can see right through this, so my guess is closer to the West Coast style. And then and you're tasting everything you're supposed to be tasting. I mean, a lot of the citrus right up front, and then the dankness in back. I mean, this beer tastes exactly like what it's named after. And if you're into IPAs, I mean, this is a home run. I mean, I told you, I haven't had a shorts beer that I don't like, and to me, this continues that tradition.
Well, I can tell you that I do miss having shorts. I know it's got some hits and misses. There's been some great beers and some not so great beers from shorts. But what I miss most, having moved away from Michigan, I don't have access, is like every 2 weeks there's a new shorts beer on the shelf. They have like a huge lineup of, 30 beers in a year. And I kind of miss that. And, over my years there, I kind of got to taste most of the ones, except for something that they put out that would be new. But I got to know which ones I liked and which one I didn't. And I do miss, a Freedom of 78 was one that I really liked, an IPA with guava in it that was good. And just so many, were some really good ones. And I know Dugout is a big fan of some of their beers. So, yeah, you know what? I know we kind of ripped on them a little bit when I still lived there. But as somebody that, I really do miss having access to those beers.
They are not afraid to take a chance as a brewery. You gotta give them that.
Oh, that's for sure. Dugout, any comments on shorts? You're a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, when we ripped on them, it was deservedly so. I mean, if you can remember that s'mores beer.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
The gigantic chunks of soggy cracker in it. It was so disgusting. Graham crackers. They didn't even put them into the boil the right way.
Yeah, they need to serve that with a spoon.
Yeah, but the brewery's response to that was even funnier. I mean, the letter was just like some 12-year-old wrote it. And I'm like, oh, okay. But most of the time, yeah, I mean, I've got Sticky Icky. And, the great thing about the weather right now in Michigan is the beer can just sit outside. You don't need to have a refrigerator full. It's just out on the patio table right now. And it keeps perfect temperature. I mean, if it gets too cold, I got to move it. But for the time being, for the last 3 weeks, just sitting outside, and it's fine. But I've got a 6-pack of Sticky Icky sitting outside, and it's been kind of a go-to for me because price-wise, it's great. I think it's close to $10 a 6-pack for it. So in craft beer world, for a really good IPA, that's outstanding.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. That's what I paid. And I was like, wow, for exactly what you said, for a beer like this, that's a deal.
So what's the flagship IPA that you can get anywhere year round there with the green label? Huma. I don't know why I couldn't remember that.
Huma Lupalicious.
Yeah, and that's a great beer. It really is.
I just saw they put out a session Huma.
Well, little Huma or whatever they call it.
Yeah, little Huma, I think it is.
Okay. Well, I never thought I'd say it, but I really do miss having access to shorts. Not all of the shorts, but I still, one of my favorite all-time beers, people will cringe when I say it, but is the Bloody beer. It was like a beer with tomato in it.
Oh, God. I love that stuff. Disgusting.
I love it. But that's the kind of stuff they do. For those of you who aren't familiar with Shorts Brewing, they pull no punches. They take things to the limits. Not everybody likes everything, but hey, there's something for everyone. God bless them.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Hey, what do you want to da-da-da? I don't know. What do y'all think we should da-da-da? Well, what did we da yesterday? Yesterday. All the dolls feel like the same doll these days. I know. Like, is today Monday or Tuesday? Today is Thursday. Oh, no, I forgot to call my mom on her birthday. Oh, no.
These days, nothing is normal and everything is weird. But you could still save big when you switch to Progressive. That won't change. Not today or any day.
Quote today at Progressive.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth, and always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth, and as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth, and always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth, and as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth, and always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Who's left up in the mitten? Well, that would be me. So I'm staying mitten for this one. And as a lot of you know, Transient is one of my favorite breweries in Michigan. And I usually try to scoop up some bottles when I'm there. And, you know, one of the, I guess, good things to come out of the pandemic is that, you know, with the breweries being closed, they have so much more inventory on hand for pick up at the store. And if you go in there, it used to be like these are all release worthy bottles that they have selling out of their store just on the shelf, and it's great. You can just go pick them up, and you can have 6, 7, 8 different variants of barrel aged Junie or Bad Hombre or a number of other beers that they just make that are off the charts. So this one is a Junie. It's Junie is their Imperial Base Stout. This one's called Junie Pero. It's 13.5% alcohol, and the description is a salted caramel Imperial Rye Stout, aged in Eastern Kill gin and bourbon barrels with orange peel, honey, vanilla, violet sky, cocoa nibs.
Hey, I hate to interrupt, but what was the name of the brewery again?
It's Transient Artisan Ale.
Transient. Okay, great.
They're in Bridgman, Michigan. Exit 16 off I-94 in Michigan.
Oh, it's awesome. Thank you.
It's right in the middle of the dunes. It's a beautiful area there. Beaches and just spectacular. Anyways, back to the beer. So it's it pours dark as night, and there's no possible way to see through it. It's definitely motor oil. There was some head on it, but even that it dissipates quick. I think any beer with this sort of obvious viscosity to it is going to have a hard time keeping up a solid head on it. In the nose, I get some bourbon, I get some botanicals, I get a heavy dose of chocolate. That's the main part of the nose right there. Some wood. I think the chocolate's really, really kind of almost overpowering the nose a little bit. All right, so right up front, man, this is boozy, big. It's kind got a whole lot of chocolate presence in it. Towards the back end, you start to catch a little bit of the sweetness and tartness of like the gin barrel and the orange in it. The chocolate and vanilla are the big hitters up front, as well as the base stout. There's a lot of dark fruit and roasted goodness in this stout, that's for sure, on the base. And then these barrel additions really add to it. It's sort of interesting to have both bourbon and gin. I can pick out a little bit of gin. That's the secondary of the barrel presence, in my opinion, with the strongest being the bourbon. First sip, I wasn't sure on this one, but as it's settling into my glass and I'm getting a little more used to it, I think this one's fantastic. I don't think I've ever had a Junie that I was disappointed in at all, and I thought if any of them were going to be, it would be this one. And I almost didn't buy it, but I thought, just for, I brewed beer in a gin barrel twice now, so I just wanted to see what some of the characteristics that I got versus what they got on theirs. This is fantastic. I would definitely rank this as one of their better beers, and glad to see the ascent of 2020, my friends. Cheers.
Cheers
indeed, and FU 2020. All right. Any other comments on Transient Street Brewery? Not. Let's head to Durham, North Carolina. Ross.
Okay, so what I chose for this week was an Avery Beer double barreled maple stout, and I guess this week I only come in second place because it's only 15.3%. Now the way I got to this one was kind of funny. I had said my last check-in was a Kentucky Christmas Morning from Hardywood. They make another stout with a Christmas theme called their Christmas Pancakes, and I was gonna do that one, but the picture on the front of it had the stack of pancakes, and it reminded me that I had this bottle of the double barreled maple that my friend Chris had gotten me when he was out. He went out to Colorado earlier this year. He's looking to move out there at some point again. He lived there previously a couple years ago, but anyway, he brought some Avery things back with him, and he gave me this. And so it's from the 2019 batch. From the label, it's number 52 in their barrel age series, and it's been aged in bourbon barrels and maple barrels, and then also it's got maple, coffee, and cinnamon in it. So I've been looking forward to having this, and thankfully I just happened to remember it because the pictures on the label are kind of similar. Okay. It is, as the Avery Stouts are, very, very dark. Has a nice tan head to it. And the smell... Oh, crap, sorry. Dropping something there. It's got definitely... it's not got the strongest smell to it as I would have expected, but... Or maybe that's just coming through now. Also, my sense of smell may be out for today, too. I've had a long day at work. But yeah, definitely getting the boozy smell to it. Definitely getting maple on it now, and the coffee's in there, and just a twinge of cinnamon in the background. I was a little worried about the cinnamon. I've had a lot of cinnamon in beers lately, and a lot of them have been really overdone. That have just been like too much cinnamon in the beer. This seems, at least smell-wise, it's hiding in the background a little bit. But yeah, we're getting a really nice blend of the bourbon and the maple and the coffee and the cinnamon. Just, it's kind of not in your face, just kind of mild and easy to take a big whiff of. Oh, yeah. So the taste, that was like the best way I can describe that is that's almost a cinnamon bun. That Ooh. Oh
my God, that sounds delicious.
That was yeah, that definitely came across. It's definitely it comes across a little bit sweeter than the nose did, and but you're definitely getting everything again. It's got a little warmth to it, getting more of that maple taste now. It was a lot more subtle on the smell, but it's in the taste, and the coffee and cinnamon are there in just the right amounts. I wonder. So this thing has been Obviously, this thing might have mellowed out here in the last year and a half. This was, like I said, from April 2019. But right now, it really does. It's got that nice, like almost like a Cinnabon. I was, like I went and got a nice big one and then stuck it in my beer. Oh yeah, and it's just nice and full. The mouthfeel on it is really full. This is a nice winter sipper. I'm glad I chose this. This is a really, I go for big kind of desserty stouts anyway, and this really hit the nail on the head with what I was looking for tonight to get rid of 2020. So yeah, I would, I don't know how available these things are. I guess they only made it the one time, but I'm glad I chose this one for the beer to do tonight. If you ever see any bottles of this, I would definitely get them. They're going to be worth it. Wow, it really is. It's like it really comes across as just a nice, thick, sweet cinnamon roll stout.
Ross, what's the brewery name again?
Avery
Brewery.
Yeah.
Out of North Carolina.
Oh no. Avery's Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, my buddy had been out there and visited the brewery, and I guess he got some of the bottles that they keep around to sell, out of the cellar every now and then. He was out there for some event, or not some event, but he'd gone out to go apartment hunting and stuff late in the summer, and when he went to stop by, he was able to get some of this. He got chased away by side story. While he was getting this, he got chased away by the wildfires. I guess they were going on at that time, and whenever maybe it was later than July, maybe it was September, I don't know. But anyway, whenever the wildfires were there was when he was there. He drove straight from the airport to Avery to to try to get some stuff on the very first day, and they were closing early when he got there due to the wildfire, so he had to come back the next day. But anyway, this was one of the things he brought back, and he brought me back a bottle of this and a few other things, which I will be enjoying from time to time. But this is really great beer. I recommend this as to anybody, anytime. Well worth the price, whatever you're going to pay for that bottle.
Sounds fantastic.
And I am going to sit here and enjoy this. I am glad I chose this instead of the Christmas pancakes.
Yeah, you know what? It's a good thing you chose it, because those are flavors that have been known to fade. Cinnamon, maple. You guys know my disdain for peanut butter, but there's no greater ingredient to me than maple, with maybe a nod to vanilla as well as my two favorite flavors. And this just sounds fantastic. I've been disappointed by so many beers that say they have maple in them. You can barely taste the maple in them.
Well, this one got it twice. It was aged in maple barrels, and they added maple to it. So it got a double shot. Yeah.
I love a good maple beer, and I've been disappointed by many because they just it's really difficult to pick out the maple. You usually have to wait till it warms a lot. Even CBS has been known to do that. No disrespect, Chris, but yeah, good maple beer, and that cinnamon is another ingredient that and sometimes has been known to fade over time. So probably good that you popped it now. All those flavors are popping.
Yeah, like I said, I've had some cinnamons that have just been too strong for me, and I wish I probably should have. If I could have waited on them, I should have. But this one came in just right. The cinnamon it was there in the back in the smell, and it's there in the taste. There's more of it, but again, it came across without being overpowering. It was more of the desserty cinnamon roll taste. So they did. I hope this is what they were shooting for, because if it was, they did a great job hitting it.
Awesome.
I'm sold.
Yep.
Amen. All right, Bob. Well, welcome, Bob. This is your inaugural visit to the Beer Nut, so you are now dubbed the Beer Nut for life. So
I appreciate that. Thanks, John. I guess I already talked to you guys about one of my absolute favorites in Haze. And I actually, although you guys looked at me or said to me over the internet, what have you been consuming? What is the last beer you had? I'm not going to lie. I was drinking Haze when you guys were asking me, and it is one of my favorite. But the beer I wanted to kind of bring forward, I mean, some of the beers you guys have put out there just sound I mean, I can't even describe it anything less than tremendous. I mean, some of the beers that I've heard, the Transient Avery, I mean, Ascension, I mean, some of these beers, I mean, the 16% from Ascension was just, I mean, and the down in North Carolina, the last beer with the maple and it's sounding like pancakes and everything else, it just seems tremendous. And I love it all. And I like trying all those beers and those styles of beers. I mean, I can honestly say I'm not the biggest stout and porter beer drinker, although I worked for Guinness for a long, long time. I can tell you that it would not be my first beer choice from a flavor profile. I'm more of a pale ale guy, more of a domestic guy, even though I'm not about to continue on the domestic side. And I really appreciate the craft beer side of the business, of the beer world. And from that beer side of the business, you know, getting these drinkers to move forward outside of the domestic beers, I like them getting into the pale ales. And one of my favorite pale ales that I wanted to talk to you guys about today is out of Maine Beer Company out of Freeport, Maine, and it's called Peeper Pale Ale. Peeper Pale Ale, and I got a glass of it next to me, and it's one of my favorites. I buy a couple of cases of it. I usually go up to the Maine Beer Company brewery every year and buy a couple of 12 packs, if you can believe it, because each way they bottle it is 16.9 ounce. It's not a can. It's not a normal bottle that they only brew it in these types of bottles. And I go out and buy a couple of 12 packs, and it's one of my favorite. It's an easy pale ale. It's golden in color, but it's very hazy, all in the same. It's a combination between, from a citrus standpoint, it's a combination between grapefruit and lemon. But the one thing that you get out of it, and it's kind of creeps you in to kind of gear up to get out of the winter and go into the summer. It's got a it's got a fresh cut grass flavor to it. It's tremendous. It's easy. It's silky. It's smooth. It doesn't go too bold on you. It's 5.5%. It's just one of my favorite beers. Peeper Pale Ale. Great little story from Maine Beer Company. It was their original beer. They sell it pretty much throughout half of the country now. If you can find it in your local store, I would suggest buying it by the bottle, because they don't sell it in 4-packs, 6-packs, or 12-packs. Buy a bottle, take it home, pour it into a glass, get it cold, pour it into a glass. If you're a beer drinker that wants an easy pale ale, this is the beer for you. I mean, it's one of my favorite. It's tremendous.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Doug to talk about Maine Beer Company, because he's been there and is a big fan.
Oh, yeah, I love Maine Beer Company. And we get distribution as close as Toledo, Ohio, which is, I don't know, maybe less than an hour away. So it's available for us to buy. And I've actually seen a couple bottles up at Holiday. I know, Greg, you shop there fairly often for beer.
Way more than I'd like to admit, but yes.
They've crept their way into Michigan a little bit. Sidebar, I believe the one of the, if not the main brewer, is from a suburb of Toledo on the Michigan side. I believe he's from Temperance, maybe, and Temperance, Michigan. And that's why I've heard that's why he's always made sure that the Toledo market gets plenty of the product. I did brew a sort of ode to Peepers pale ale just this fall, and I used wet hops out of my garden, and that beer came out great. I think it took a fourth place in a wet hopped beer competition in Yakima, Washington, so I was pretty proud of that one. But yeah, huge fan of that stuff, man. Even their dark beers are good. Their Mean Old Tom is I believe they're stout, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we actually started getting some distro of them down here in North Carolina, and so I got a couple bottles of that fall coffee stout they make, just called Fall, and that was pretty good. It was a lower ABV stout. I mean, it was like 5.5 maybe. But it was a real nice thing just to have, with other stuff. It was something you could easily have a glass of, with dinner or whatever without, for me, I usually go for thicker, heavier things that tend not to go as well with meals. It's more like after meal kind of thing. But that one was real nice. It was just kind of nice lighter coffee stout instead of being the heavier one. And anyway, I just side note, yeah, we started getting some distro of them down here.
So yeah, we love our main beer. A lot of I peel off all the bottle labels from those and do some homebrew in those. It takes a little bit of effort, but I love those size bottles for it, 500s. But the thing, here's what I think about Maine Beer Company overall. Their beer seems simple. It's very straightforward, but it sort of has this elegance and consistency to it. Doesn't taste like anything else. From a first sip, you got a Maine Beer Company beer.
But I would say that's what you hit on it right there, right? Consistency. Their beer is consistent. I mean, whether it's be Peeper, whether it be some of their other beers, and I'm not going to name them all off like lunch or dinner or another one, but I mean, their beer every single time is consistent on the flavor. It never changes. They don't vary. It doesn't matter what they're doing or what the time of the year is. It's the same beer in day in and day out. It's one of my favorites, one of my favorite brewers.
And it seems like that's kind of an odd thing to focus on, but that to me is the sign of an impeccable brewer, and they just keep doing that perfect thing time and time again. So always be a fan of them for sure.
Well, I was lucky enough to get some sent out to me when Uncle Pete went up to Maine on his trip, and he introduced me to it. And then just by chance, they started selling it here in LA at my local beer emporium where I go shopping for all my beer. So whenever they have bottles up there, I grab as many as I can and stockpile in my refrigerator. And if someone told me, hey, what beer do you recommend? That was great.
All right, everybody there?
I'm still here.
Okay. It got so quiet, I thought the internet.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, great inaugural beer, Bob. Thanks for sharing that with us. As you can tell, we're all fans of the Maine Beer Company, so that was a great way to start it out. I don't believe I get that in Arizona.
ChristopherMedia.net.
You went online to switch your car insurance to Progressive so you could save money. But then you saw a friend request from an old summer camp buddy. And now here you are, clicking through photos of his kickball team from 2011. Looks like they won the championship that year. Then he moved to Tulsa. Oh, a new tattoo. Yes, they said it was easy to save hundreds on car insurance with Progressive, but they forgot about the rest of the internet. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. National average savings by new customer surveyed who saved in 2019.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new. Our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth, and always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
And now a game of Commercial Chicken, brought to you by Progressive, where we see how long Flo can go without talking about insurance. Ready? Go.
So the weather is just all over the place lately, right? One day it's hot, and the next day it's windy for a while. It's like, make up your mind already. Drivers who switch to Progressive could save big.
Okay, you win. We can't help but save customers money. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Anyway, so Bob sent me a couple beers, and I do thank you for that, Bob. And I wanted to at least mention he sent me, I think, a 2-year-old single shot can, the coffee milk stout from Treehouse. I just popped it open, and I'm enjoying it now. I will say.
Yes, and I have to interrupt. I have to tell you, so that beer has been cold for 2 years. It has not seen the light of day. It is in a can, and it is from my favorite brewery, Treehouse, and it's something I've never had, but it was given to me, and when John and I started trading beers, I said he was a stout fan. I said, I'm going to send him this because I think you would appreciate it more than me. I worked for Guinness for a long time, and I get stouts, and I love them, but I wanted someone else to try something different. So that beer has never seen the light of day. I mean, legitimately never been in the light, and it has been in refrigerated storage for over 800 days. So,
well, I'm going to give you a review in just a moment, but I will say that you and Russ balance out the show because Russ is like a huge stout and porter lover, and usually passes when we do an IPA episode, and you're probably more of a lighter beer drinker. So between the two of you, I think we have all bases covered. So it's fine just to stick with what you like. I'm the beneficiary of this beer, so I will say I popped it open a couple of minutes ago. My first impression of it, I do believe that the coffee is faded over age, even though it was refrigerated, which is good. The beer's well preserved. I popped it open at least 5 minutes ago, and there's a thin one layer, tan head on it. It's retained its carbonation nicely. What I am surprised about is, I expected it to be a coffee bomb, and the coffee I think is the true bitter coffee flavor has probably faded a bit over time, which is normal. But I didn't realize it's a coffee milk stout, and this reminds me of, they say there's a beer brewed by Carton Brewing in New Jersey, Carton Regular Coffee. On the East Coast, and especially in New Jersey, a regular coffee is like 2 creams and 2 sugars. And that's what this reminds me of, because it's a milk stout. It's probably got lactose in it, and the lactose sweetens it up. So I'm tasting a cup of coffee, but I'm tasting more of the cream and sugar than I am the coffee. And I'd be willing to bet that when this was fresh, the coffee was more prevalent, but it's still pretty darn good. And I appreciate you sending it to me. And, part of the education of beer is seeing what time does the things. The other thing that we've observed, and I'm sure some of the other beer nuts will agree, is for aging beer long term, can is not the greatest vessel. I think can is the greatest vessel for, like hoppy beers and stuff that's made to serve fresh. But to cellar something, probably better off in a bottle. But I think.
So, John, not to interrupt, but it's a question I have for you guys as a whole, as a panel. Right. I sent John this beer that had been given to me a while ago, and as he talked about, it was a coffee stout. It was 2 years old, and I sent it along. And and I'm working for Guinness as long as I have. I collect some of these because people always want to give me stouts because they believe I'm the biggest fan of them. So I just gave away a KBS from 2017 that has been in my fridge forever, and I'm not the biggest stout guy. I mean, does it really affect the flavor that much? Will it age well if it's in the cold and not in the light? And I ask this because down in my fridge right now, I have a 2014 Bourbon County Stout from Goose Island. It's tagged, came out of the wooden box, the whole 9 yards. I mean, I could care less about the thing, but I'm just curious: is it worth it to keep it that long, or does it make a difference? Is it that spectacular when you do it? I mean, does it age well? I know it's not a barley wine, but I'm just curious. You guys are beer guides. I figured I'd ask.
All right, who wants to take this one? Doug,
I would say, like you said earlier, coffees are hit or miss thing, right? So I know there have been years when an older KBS, when people did verticals, had more coffee in it than a newer one, right? So it's a real tricky thing to say, but yeah, there are things that will fade over time for sure, and coffee is definitely one of them.
Well, but you've had these refrigerated the whole time, and a lot of times when a beer is aged, it's done in a cellar at a lower at a higher temperature than a refrigerator is. So any of that change that's going to occur is probably going to occur more rapidly in the warmer temperatures. In the refrigerator, you're fine, man. That beer is like that 14 Goose Island is probably spectacular right now. It's probably going to drink as well, if not better, than the day it was released.
So yeah, it can vary, but I think
we've had some pretty long discussions on the show about aging and cans versus bottles, things like that. But a refrigerator is a perfect environment for beer for long term.
And being in the beer industry as long as I have, I don't disagree with that. I'm not the stout connoisseur, so I couldn't sit there and tell you that it's changed from this flavor to the next. So, John, when I sent you that single shot from Treehouse, I mean, you know, Treehouse makes tremendous beer, and their beer is second to none in some instances. And sending you that beer, I was a little concerned because I thought to myself, Jesus, I don't know what the breakdown is being from the longevity standpoint. I mean, it hasn't been in the light, it hasn't been in the sun, no heat, no nothing. But, I mean, it's been days upon days upon days. What's that breakdown going to be? And then I thought about the bottles that I've had. So I just gave my buddy that KBS, and I don't know who was speaking at the time, but, you know, he actually said to me, he goes, I got to tell you, that was one of the best beers I've ever had. And I can't believe it's a 2017. I mean, that thing's been sitting in my fridge for close to 3 to 4 years. I mean, I'm a beer guy. I take care of beer. I love it when it's good. I put it right in the fridge, or I keep it in a dark room, and I keep it at a steady temperature. I mean, I recommend every wholesaler I deal with to keep their CEWs or their controlled environment warehouses at 62 degrees, just so constantly year round they're getting a relatively good beer temperature to get out there. And beer bars that I deal with, their beer shouldn't be coming out of their taps any less than 38 degrees. I mean, I love it. I cherish it. I get it. I just wasn't sure from that standpoint with what you guys were showing me from the beers you guys were testing tonight, how much it might have changed that flavor. And it's weird because you get a lot of people nowadays with how much we're shopping for beer and how much is out there, and we're out there and people are buying beer for people, and people are relatively uneducated when it comes to it, and they hand the beer out without thinking about it. And I've gotten beer where they've come to me and handed me a bottle, and they've been like, oh, hey, I bought this beer and it was $47 and it was supposed to be the best of the beer, and then I put it in the fridge, and this beer's meant to be drink cold. I don't give a shit what anyone says. And I put it in the fridge and I pour it in a glass and I go, yeah, okay, that beer sucked. You know, and I feel bad because, so I was curious and I didn't want to feel bad that I gave John a shitty beer.
No, it's not a shitty beer by any means. Again, what I'm getting out of it is it's it's a sweeter, you're getting that regular coffee, versus a black coffee. Whereas, and maybe I'm wrong. I haven't had one fresh. So if I had one fresh, I'd be able to taste them both and tell the differences. But in my opinion, I think there would probably be more fresh coffee flavor. But I mean, you kept it, and by keeping it in the fridge, you're only going to extend the life of it. There's no doubt about that. But on the other side of the coin, I mean, a KBS, there's people probably on this podcast right now that have, 8-year-old KBSs sitting in their cellar that are
sure they do.
Drink. Usually with stouts and higher ABV stuff, it peaks around 5 or 6 years, and then after that, the quality will begin to erode a little bit. But some people like the oxidation, some of the flavors that oxidation over time produces, like dark fruits and figs and raisins and stuff like that, especially with like a barley wine. So it just depends. Everybody's palate's different, and some people like that kind of stuff, and some people would rather drink it fresh.
Like I said, it wasn't that long ago that I did the raisin dextra from Dogfish Head, and it was the one I had was 6 or 7 years old, and it was perfect. That stuff is miserable when it first comes out. Right?
Oh yeah,
it's
hotter than
it's almost to the point of being undrinkable. It's like having like real hard alcohol in a lot of ways. The way it burns, But that one that was, I guess it was the 2014 batch that I had, right? And it was excellent. I mean, I couldn't believe that was the same beer when I did that bottle for the episode. So yeah, I'm sitting on my 18 bottles now, and I guess it's going to be another few years before I can open them. But my 2018 bottles that I bought, but yeah, that 2014, I remember it when it came out, and it was not great. But there it was 6 years later. It was it's top 5 of the beers I've had this year. So there's some stuff that does need that edge taken off too. I mean, that's the other side of the coin. There's some stuff that does need to age for a little bit.
So there's a couple comments I want to make on this single shot. Number one, I just checked the ABV is only 6.4. So a higher ABV usually will last, retain its freshness longer. I guess freshness or flavor profile longer. So that's a factor, and it does say keep cold and enjoy fresh, but a lot of breweries do that just to cover themselves because some stuff, if you age it long, can develop infections and sourness, and I don't detect any of that in this. I think it's simply that time and a lower ABV. 6.4 isn't exceptionally high. It's not exceptionally low either. It's a little bit higher than but again, it's still a lovely beer. It's just I think if you'd had this the day it was released, it would be a lot more blown away by the fresh coffee ground flavor, and that part of the flavor profile has diminished somewhat. And but it's not going to go to waste, Bob, and it's still a damn good beer. So I do appreciate it.
No, and I appreciate that, and I don't disagree. I think no matter what beer you have, I think no matter how long you have it, it's gonna age, and it's gonna take away from that flavor profile. But I appreciate the fact, John, that you looked it up, and and it really comes down to the level of the ABV. I think there's a lot of beers out there that you can age like a wine. I mean, and sacrilegious as that sounds, I mean, you can age it and it will taste better. I mean, I definitely had my fair share. That's obviously a no to me drinking, but my fair share of Bourbon County that certainly I've had from years past that tastes tremendous. And I'm not talking guzzling a couple of beers of Bourbon County, just taking a couple of sips off it. And it's a fantastic beer, and it's even better when it's aged over time. I mean, you get that flavor profile and it hits you. And I mean, it's a little boozy and it certainly is very strong, but it's a beer, and it's a stout, and it's a very good beer. So I appreciate you pointing that out, and I think it's a right thing to do for all the people that are listening, that you guys get the fact that there are beers that you can age and they will change over time.
Amen. And Bob, I got a return box heading your way, and I'm going to dig deep in my cellar and look for something old that will hold up, and something you can sit by the fire with and sip on, like those older Bourbon Counties. So look forward to getting that in the next few weeks. So I think we've everybody's got to review a beer, and maybe go around the horn one more time, and everybody can say their piece with anything you want to say about moving on from this year. It's been challenging in many respects. I'm just going to go first and just say that I lost my mother and my best friend this year. And that was the worst part of the year for me. But, Bob and I worked together, and we've made some great things happen with the product that we represent, a line of hard coffees. So don't want to get too far into that. But other than say, it hasn't been all terrible. There's been some good things too. So try to focus on the positive, and But that being said, man, I'm really looking forward to 2021. Getting through this pandemic, being able to go out and do things, go to ball games, get together, at a beer festival with all you guys, maybe up in Michigan later this year. Got to just hope and pray that we get back to a point where we can live normal lives again. And so that's what I want to leave everybody with and let's just look forward and kick this year in the ass. It's been tough. I'm trying to be optimistic and look forward to turning the page. So Steve, you want to go next? Anything final comments?
Sure. Yeah, like I said, JR, it's just one of those crazy years, and you can say in your lifetime you never had to deal with something like this, and you kind of hope that you don't have to do it again. Looking forward to 2021, I hope things get better for everyone around the country, around the world, and we can move forward from this and learn from it and be prepared for the next time if something like this happens. Like I said, hopefully in 2 weeks, I'm looking forward to hockey season starting up. It was 2020, even though as crappy a year it was a great year for our LA sports. So cheers to the Dodgers, cheers to the Lakers. this year. And, hopefully 2021, everyone can move on and get back to their lives and back to some normalcy.
Amen. All right, Greg, I think you're next.
Yeah, I certainly hope good health for everybody in 2021. 2020 wasn't too bad. I'll be honest. I mean, the whole pandemic and shutdowns, they suck. They do, but we've gotten through it. We're getting through it. And like Steve said, hopefully we never have to deal with this again. And so just hopefully next year's a lot better than this year, and everybody stays healthy and happy, and just continue drinking great beer. Isn't that what it's all about? So let's all have a great 2021, and go Red Wings. Let's beat some LA Kings.
All right, Chris.
Well, I should have special feelings about this year because I started the year with 2 jobs and now I have 0. But the silver lining is the one job. Even though I'd had it for a while, I was miserable. I hadn't enjoyed it for some time. So it's a blessing in disguise. And still, I'm above ground and I'm still being able to pay all my bills. So really, I can't complain. I'm just looking forward to 2021. Whatever new adventure awaits me, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Amen. All right, Dugout.
Yeah, I think I'm on board with the list previous too. This hasn't been the worst year of my life by any stretch of the imagination. It's actually been very productive and very good. It's been very weird and bizarre in certain other aspects of it. And then, it's just at the end of the year, I get hit hard with some bullshit. So, yeah, looking forward to 2021 and new challenges and brewing some more good beers. And hopefully at some point we'll all get back to normal and be able to socialize with each other openly. And, just wishing the best for everybody's health.
Amen. And Steve and I are still looking forward to coming to the next Michigan Beer Festival that we can safely attend. So can't wait for that. I guess, Ross, you're next on the clock.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, like some other people, I had some personal things happen. My dad died early in 2020, and so that was a little bit of a, we were one of the, to experience not being able to really do much about the funeral, where he and my mom lived was a couple hundred miles away. So that was kind of a bummer to a start of things. But all in all, again, I think I've been in a better situation than a lot of people. I was already working from home anyway as part of my job. So I didn't really get affected too much from the, work getting, the huge upheaval of the work. But what 2020 did do for me that I'm going to say is a positive is it made me start going through and actually drinking some of the things that I should have been drinking all along and not really holding on to. So I've had a lot of good beer this year that I probably should have had before this, where I've been sitting on it, and I'm going to save it to take to this, share or that, and none of that stuff happened. So I had it for myself here at home, and I've had a lot of really good stuff that I might have otherwise, either sat on too long or, while it's good to share with other people, sometimes it's nice to have the whole 12 ounces to yourself, right? So I've really gone through a lot of stuff that I would otherwise have normally held on to, and then right at the end of the year, I got the best surprise of all, and that was on the 19th. Southern Pines surprised me, and because I didn't have any foreknowledge of it, but they dropped a release of Drunken Vigils, and so I was able to go down to Southern Pines and get me my normal stockpile of that to have, so that I can have several spread out over the course of the year as my good as my rewards to myself for a job well done, because that's kind of my favorite North Carolina beer of all time is Drunken Vigils. So they had a release of that and a co-release of some German chocolate cake that they made. which is also a pretty good beer of theirs. And I was able to, with a lot of driving involved because of other commitments I had. So I had a very long day of driving Friday and Saturday, but I was able to make the journey and get a good allotment of that stuff to keep me, and hopefully I'll be sending some of that out. I got back in touch with my Southern Pines friend who's actively looking forward to trying to do a Southern Pines show at some point now. I hadn't talked to him in a little while because he had been laid off. Well, not laid off, but furloughed. But now they just did bring him back on recently. So he's looking forward to trying to organize something for the podcast. So all that was very good news for me, and so I'm hoping 2021 will just get better. And again, I am looking forward to some in-person stuff, as the regulars on this show know. JR and I normally meet up face-to-face in Philadelphia a couple times a year to see a football game or two. And we didn't get to do that this year. And this year was a year, one of the things I regret was that the Eagles were playing in Arizona, and I was going to come out there for a game and get to hang out with JR for a while, and that didn't get to happen either. So here's to next year, actually going to go see some football in person and with you, JR.
Well, amen to that, man. And I was really bummed when that week came around, and I knew what it could have been if we'd have been able to attend the game, but it wasn't in the cards. And I guess if there was the season for us to not be able to attend a game, it was probably this one. Our Eagles pretty much shit the bed. So, but and that's another thing to look forward to is next season. Just like Lions fans can look forward to next season, because there's nowhere to go but up for either of us.
50-some years of rebuilding.
Oh, you think that, but we won some games this year. We could lose 0 games again. We still go down.
Well, we're probably going to pick before you in the draft, so that tells you how bad our season was. Well, let's go up to Boston, and Bob, get your comments on the year.
Well, I guess I would have to say, first and foremost, any one of you guys that have suffered through any type of tragedy this year, my condolences. This year has not been a fun year, and I completely appreciate where you're coming from. But I have to tell everyone, just stay the course. I get it. It sucks. It's not a fun time. Everything isn't going the best way we want it to, but we stay the course. We move through. We'll get by it. I do have to tell you that I appreciate this day. I appreciate being on this podcast with you guys with these beers and trying out the beers. I think it's a lot of fun. I appreciate the fact that you guys are getting people more and more to drink beer. I mean, John alluded to it. I've been in the beer industry since I was a kid. I mean, not that anyone needs to know this. I started working for a beer distributor when I was 14, and beer's been in my blood. And I love the fact that people are trying different things, and you guys are trying something new. And I think the craft beer industry is so awesome. I love the fact that you guys are trying stuff with all different styles of flavors and alcohol levels and everything else. I think it's fantastic. I mean, I was selling beer when Pete's Wicked Ale was out. I was selling beer when Sam Adams started selling. I mean, it is just the way the beer industry has gone and the way the connoisseurs have gone. I think it's awesome that you guys are out there trying different stuff. You guys are staying with beer. You're not moving on to spirits. You're not moving on to wine. I think it's great. And I think that is that's your mentality. I think it's the same thing with 2020. I think you got to just stay the course. Stay with what you know. Stay how you do it. Keep moving forward. Keep punching above your weight. And I think you're going to come out better for it. So I have nothing more to say than thank you for my time today. It was awesome. I'd love to come back. I'd love to show you some more beers in my time, but I get that you guys probably have other guys that come on here, and I think that you guys have a tight-knit group, and I think you guys have all built a very good camaraderie, and I think it's special, and I really do like it. So I'm wishing you all the best in 2021. I'm hoping that none of the suckiness that has come out of 2020 transfers in 2021 for you. And I think if you guys can continue to just look forward and continue to push forward and realize that everything else is behind you, I think everything is going to be great. So thank you for allowing me to be on here. Thank you for allowing me to present Peeper and Haze, and although I was drinking them way ahead of time, I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. It was an awesome time. Thanks, guys.
Well, we enjoy having you, and you have an open invitation anytime to join us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every week we send out invites, and you will, once a beer nut, always a beer nut, so you're always invited to come back, and we really enjoyed having you. So thanks for bringing the coast.
Well, I would say careful what you wish for. It might be on more than you realize.
That would be great. Yeah.
No problem.
So just one more thing I want to add. We usually talk a little bit about home brewing. Doug talked a little bit earlier, but happy to tell you guys, as most of the beer nuts know, I bought a electric brewing system over the holidays. It was delivered to my house on Christmas Eve. So perfect Christmas gift for me. I'm waiting for the recirculation pump kit to arrive any day. I got a new stainless steel fermenter. So I sold all my brewing equipment when I left Michigan. I haven't brewed since, but I've got the itch back, and I've actually got the resources to buy some really good equipment and do it right this time and not junk up the garage to the point where my wife won't allow it. So I'm buying good new stuff that looks good and that won't piss her off. And I think I'll be able to join the homebrew conversation. And, hopefully my goal is to have that Irish Car Bomb Stout that I'm known for, have a batch of that available to send everybody a bottle or a crowler or something of it by St. Patrick's Day. So that's my goal. Doug, any more home brewing news on your end?
Yeah, JR, that's awesome, man. That's awesome news. I'm glad to hear you getting back into it. You're a good brewer, and you need to be able to do it.
Amen. I need a hobby too.
There you go. Yeah, I brewed 10 gallons, double batch of. It's basically like a clone recipe that Founders put out for Old Curmudgeon. So it's an old ale and it's wood aged, and so I doubled the recipe up and brewed up 10 gallons, and 5 of it is going to be just that stock recipe, the old ale aged on oak chips. And then the other 5 gallons, I've got oak chips and bourbon, and I'm going to add some maple syrup and some vanilla. So I'll have 2 separate variations of the same beer.
That's awesome, man. I don't know if anybody else, I don't think we have any other home brewers. John Golden's not with us, so we'll continue to talk more and more about home brewing, especially once I get my first batch brewing on my new Anvil electric brewing system. The final nail in the coffin will be getting a little kegerator, which that's going to be probably a tough surprise for my wife, but it's got to happen. Because I'm not bottling beer, I'm kegging beer. So with that being said, I think it's time to go to Mexico City. That's how we wrap up every episode. You know what? We've been pretty good. I really like the comments. A lot of people weren't really that negative on 2020. Some bad things happened to us. We lost some friends. We lost some family. But, at the end of the day, I think we all have a pretty good attitude going into 2021. Again, there's nowhere to go but up. Let's try to stay the course, stay positive, and, the next year can only be better. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Chris, do you have any closing find us here, find us there, or should we just go to Mexico City and call this a year?
Find us on Twitter at The Beer Nuts Podcast. Like us on Facebook. We're on Instagram at The Beer Nuts Podcast. That's it. That's all I got.
All right.
Which, by the way, I did want to throw this in. 2020 didn't kill the hard seltzers. Strap in, folks. They're not going anywhere.
Well, we promise you there will never be a hard seltzer episode on this podcast. So, as they say in old Mexico City, and fuck you 2020.
See ya.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Masspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth, and always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth, and as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth, and always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.